All right, hello. This is TJ from Qube here, and I am going to be reviewing Test 1 of Module 1 today. And if you're new here, you can use this resource in two ways. Either, first, watch the full video to gain a better understanding of the SAT math section, or scroll to find specific questions. Without further ado, we will get straight into the question. Question number 1, if 6y is equal to 12, what is the value of y? This is a simple algebra question. All we want to do is divide both sides by 6, and if we do so, we get that the value of y is equal to 2, and therefore answer choice D is correct. Moving on to question number 2, each side of a fair two-sided coin is denoted heads and tails. If Jake flips the coin twice, what is the probability of having only heads as a result? So if there is a two-sided coin, then there is a 1/2 chance to get a head. But if you want to get the heads twice, we just have to multiply that probability one more time, and that will give us 1/4, which is our final answer for getting heads twice. Answer choice C. All right, question number 3. What is 16% of 25? This is a pretty simple question. All we need to do is multiply 25 by its corresponding percentage in number format, which is divided by 16 divided by 100, which is 0.16. And so if we plug that into our calculator, we get that the answer is equal to 4. And therefore, question number 3, answer is A. All right, question number 4. fx is equal to 120,000 plus 4,600x. Function fx models a nuclear power plant's total monthly operation cost in dollars, where x represents the number of workers working at the nuclear power plant. If 27 workers work at the nuclear power plant this month, how much is the total operation cost in dollars of nuclear power plant for this month? So we are looking at it in this month. And in this month, there were how many people working? 27 workers. And what does 27 represent? It represents the value of x in this situation. So if we set up the formula, we can set it as the following. 120,000 plus 4,600 times 27. And that will be the operation cost. So if we plug that into our calculator, we get the total cost as $244,200, therefore leading to our final answer of D. All right, question number 5. The area of Abraham's square-shaped cornfield equals 196 acres. So we can set that up as x times x, and the area of that is equal to 196. So we can set up an equation, x squared is equal to 196. Let's move on. The length of each side of Jennifer's square-shaped cornfield equals half of the corresponding side length of Abraham's. So we can set Jennifer's cornfield length as x divided by 2 and x divided by 2. Okay, so it's x divided by 2 squared, which will give us the area. And we want to find which choice that represents the area of Jennifer's cornfield in acres. So if we know that x squared, or Abraham's cornfield, is equal to 196, we can simplify this expression, which is x squared, times by 1/2 times 1/2, which is equal to 1/4. And therefore, we can plug this into this equation, and therefore we get 196 times 1/4. And that is the expression that we want to find. And the expression that best matches this situation is answer choice C, where 1/4 is represented as 1/2 squared. Okay? And therefore, question number 5, answer is C. Question number 6. The box plot represents the distribution of time spent at the gym on a certain day in hours of 20 Monster Gym members. Which of the following interpretation of the box plot is true? Now, for those of you guys who are not too familiar with the box plot, these bars represent each individual important pieces of, statistics that we need to know. The first bar here is the lowest value. And this final bar here represents the highest value. Okay? And this second, third, fourth represents, in order, the second quartile, the median, and the third quartile. Okay, that's all we need to know in order to solve this problem. Let's take a look. Question number, answer choice A, at least 5 gym members spent more than 4.1 hours at the gym. Now, we know that 4.1 hour is the highest value that people work out at this specific gym. And if we can save 5 people at least out of 20, that is probably not a good choice, because this 4.1 is the highest value, but they're saying it's at least, meaning that would be incorrect. Answer choice B, the mean hours spent at the gym is 2.15. Now we have to understand 2.15 is representative of what? The third quartile, and that is not the mean. From the box plot, we cannot know the value of the mean. We only know the median. Answer choice C, the median hours spent at the gym is 2.15. Once again, this one is closer to the answer, but our median value is actually 1.7. Therefore, we can say that 2.15 is incorrect for the median. Answer choice D, at least 15 gym members spent more than 1.15 hours at the gym. Now, if this is a second quartile, and we have a total of 20 gym members, then 75% of the gym members have spent more or equal to 1.15 hours. That's what we can assume. So 20 times 75% is equal to 15. So we can assume that at least 15 gym members spent more than 1.15 hours. And that is a good assumption and the answer to our question. Question number 7. The figure above shows the graph of a quadratic function y is equal to fx on the xy plane. How many different real roots does the quadratic equation fx is equal to 0 have? Now, we are looking at the graph. If you want real roots, what are we looking for? We are looking for the graph to touch the x-axis. And in this situation, do we see any signs of this graph touching the x-axis? No. Which is why we can properly assume that there are no real roots. Rather, there probably is going to be an imaginary root. And therefore, our answer is A. Question number 8. A city government plans to spend at most $24,000 for the city environment campaign, which consists of tree planting and garbage recycling. So 2 things, tree planting and garbage recycling. Tree planting costs $55 per tree, and garbage recycling costs $90 per gallon of garbage. Which inequality represents this situation? So the government wants to spend no more than $24,000, so we want to make the value smaller than or equal to 24,000. It can be 24,000, and we know that it costs $55 per what? Per tree. Times that by t, plus $90 times by how many garbage there are, so 90g. So this is going to represent the total price that the government needs to pay for each tree and each gallon of garbage collected. And therefore, we can set up this inequality, and the one that matches this inequality would be answer choice B. Now, for answer choice A, they're lacking the term garbage, which is not a good idea. Answer choice C, confuse the 2 values, and that's also wrong. Answer choice D, confuse the variables, which is why that's not the correct answer, leaving us with answer choice B. Question number 9. X plus 2y is equal to 11 and 4xy is equal to 20. X comma y is a solution for the system of equations above. Find one value of y that satisfies the system of equations. So, in order to solve linear equations or system of equation questions, we always want to see what we're trying to find. We're trying to find the value of y, and if we want to do that, then we want to substitute x and get rid of the x. Let me show you what I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that formula here, x plus 2y is equal to 11. And I'm just going to rewrite the equation in terms of x. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to plug that back into this equation, which will leave us with this, and 44 minus 8y, y is equal to 20, and therefore 44y minus 8y squared is equal to 20. Now, I see that we can, simplify this expression by dividing every parts of the terms by 4. So I'm going to do that, and if we do so, we get 11y minus 2y squared is equal to 5. Now this is a simple quadratic equation. Let me just move this to the left, and we are going to organize the equation as so. Just move this to the other side, and now I'm going to see if we can find a quadratic solution, and we have. So that will give us our roots 2y minus 1. We can factorize it and get this, and therefore get that y is equal to either 1/2 or 5. Now, just to explain, 1/2 can go in as 1 divided by 2, as shown here, or you can plug in 0.5 or 0.5, all of which are a good answer choice, viable answer choices. Just to explain why I substituted and organized the expression in terms of x here. This is because I wanted to not go through the process of finding the value of x and then, substituting that answer into y to find the answer. If we find the value in terms of x here, then once we plug in the equation and solve for y, that is what we want to find. But if we organize it in terms of y here, then we'll find the value of x. And then once we're done finding that value of x, we have to re-plug it into the formula, which just takes a lot longer. So I suggest you guys to always look for what we're trying to find, and then organize your formulas accordingly. Question number 10. Each side of a fair 6-sided dice has a different integer from 1 to 6, a standard dice. When the dice is rolled once, what is the probability of rolling a prime number? Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are the possibilities that we can get when rolling a dice. What are the prime numbers here? 1 is not a prime number. 2 is, 3 is, 5 is, 4 and 6 are not. So we have a total of 3 out of 6 different choices, and that is basically equal to 1/2. Therefore, answer choice D. Question number 11. Mountain A erodes every year, causing a decrease in height by 0.1% compared to the previous year. If the current height of the mountain A is m feet, which choice best models the height of mountain A in feet after x years? So this is a simple exponential formula, exponential equation problem. And if something is decreasing by 0.1% and we want to put that into a formula, we have to always change that percent into a number value. And how do we do that? We divide 0.1 by 100. And I know that is just moving the decimal places 2 to the left, and that is just equal to 0.001. And so what we want to do is, if this is decreasing by 0.1%, out of the initial value, which is m, we can multiply the ratio of 1 minus 0.001, and x represents the years, and that will represent the total height of the mountain. Now, we have to put the 1 here because we want to first retain the height of the mountain and then take it away from here. It's like a discount. Okay, so we just want to make sure that that 1 is here, and therefore we will get answer choice C. Now, if we take a look at answer choice A, what is this value saying? Let's actually take a look. 0.1, if we plug 0.1 in, that means every year 90% of the mountain's height is decreasing. That's what it's saying. In this situation, same. This is also 0.1, and they represent the same thing. In this situation, it's saying every year the mountain's height is decreasing by what? 99.9%. Right? Only 0.1% is left afterwards. So we're losing about 99.9%, and that is not the situation, which is why answer choice C is correct. Question 12. 7 students A, B, C, D, E, F, and G take credit courses at Wharton High School. The total credits each student takes this semester are shown in the table above. What is the median value of the 7 students' credits at Wharton High School? So if we want to find the median value, what do we want to do? We want to organize the values from lowest to highest and start eliminating left, right, left, right, left, right until we get to the middle man. Let's do that. I think with the lowest value here is 10, and it goes up from there. 11, let's zoom in there. 12, 13, 13, and 14 and 18. Now, what do we want to do? We want to start eliminating one by one. So 1, 2, 3, and what is our median value? 13, and that is our answer. Question number 13. The scatter plot above shows the statistics of major cities and dataset P, where the x-axis represents the land area, okay, in square kilometers, and y-axis represents the population in thousands. Which choice most appropriately models the line of best fit for dataset P? And if we take a look here, we have to first, in order to understand this trend line, right? In order to understand this trend line, we want to find some landmark values. And what I mean by landmark values is x-intercept, y-intercept, and slope. Those are the landmark values. If you know those values, then we can, plot this line. And so if we take a look at the y-intercept first, the first thing we notice is that it's in the negative region here. So all these y-intercept values with the positive value, we can take that out. And the next thing we can see is that does this graph have a positive slope or a negative slope? And obviously it is moving upwards, which is why it has a positive slope, and we can get rid of answer choice B, leaving us with the only answer choice, D, for question number 13. All right, question 14. What is the area of a circle whose center is 2, 2 and is tangent to both x-axis and y-axis? Now, tangent means it is hitting the x-axis at a singular point and then moving out. That's what tangent means. It just touches that specific point. And something that's really cool about a circle is that its distance from the center of the circle is always uniform, and we just call that radius, right? And if we are hitting this value of 2 on the y-axis and the x-axis, what is that saying? That means that effectively the radius, if we know the center of the circle is 2, 2, effectively the radius is 2. Does that make sense? Effectively the radius is 2. And therefore, if we want to find the area of the circle, we just need to recall the area of the circle formula, which is pi r squared. And if we plug 2 into r, then we get 2 squared pi. And what is that equal to? 4 pi. And therefore, our answer is C. Okay, that's a pretty clever, tricky question. Question number 15. Among the internal angles in right triangle ABC, angle B has the largest value. If angle A equals 39 degrees, what is the value in degrees of angle C? So angle B has the largest value. Now, in a right triangle, the largest value angle is always going to be the right angle. And that means angle B is 90 degrees, and from the diagram, we can kind of assume that it is. And if we want to find angle C, we can approach this in 2 different ways. Since this is 90 degrees, the summation of angle A and angle C is going to have to equal to 90, because the sum of interior angle is 180. Or you can just add all 3 values and say that is equal to 180. Either way works. I'm just going to go with the vanilla way. 39 plus, let's just denote angle C as x, plus 90 is equal to 180. Now, if we solve for x, then we get 108, x is equal to 180 minus 90 minus 39. Let's just plug that into the calculator. And therefore, we get angle C is equal to 51. We can plug that into question number 15. Now, if you're a little bit more used to the SAT format, you can literally see that this is 90 degrees. And some of you guys will start just taking, since we know that the sum of this and this is 90, then we just start doing 90 minus 39. And we get 51. Either way works. Okay, moving on to question number 16. Which expression is equivalent to x times xy to the power of 3 times x divided by y, where x and y are different positive real numbers? So, if we want to find an expression equivalent in this situation, we want to first understand how these variables operate. And the first thing we want to deal with is what's inside of this parentheses. And we know that there is this cubed. And if we have this cubed, we can delegate it to each of the terms. And therefore, we can rewrite it as x cubed, y cubed times x divided by y. And we can multiply this x. And if we do that, if x times x cubed is just x to the 4th power, y to the 3rd power times x divided by y. Now, if we're dividing something by that variable, then it's just simple as taking 1 away. And if we're multiplying by the same base variable, then we are actually just adding those values, and we get 5. Ultimately, x to the 5th times y to the 2nd power. Answer choice A. All right, 17. Points B, C, and D are on a circle with center A. Angle BAC, or angle X in this situation, is equal to 0.8 pi, and angle CAD, or angle Y, equals 0.5 pi, each in radians. Now, we have to understand, this is not in degrees, it's in radians, so the sum of all interior angles for a circle is not 360 degrees, but it's actually 2 pi. Now, if you're not sure about the difference between the two, they're just basically the same thing. It's just a different way of writing angles. If you want to know how to switch from 360 degrees to radians, all you need to do is multiply by pi over 180. If you want to go the other way around, then you just have to multiply by the reciprocal of this unit conversion factor, which is 180 divided by pi. Okay. Anyways, we know that the interior angle is 2 pi. What is the measure of the smaller angle BAD in radians? All right, this angle. So we know that the sum of all angles has to be 2 pi. And therefore, if we set up the equation, 0.8 pi plus 0.5 pi plus, let's just say z, is equal to what? 2 pi. Okay, so z is equal to, z plus 1.3 pi is equal to 2 pi. And so if we take away 1.3 pi, then we get z is equal to 0.7 pi. And therefore, that is our angle that we are searching for. Okay. Question 18. What is the correct set of solutions for equation x squared minus 12x plus 27? This is a simple quadratic equation. We just want to solve for x. Now, can we just simply factorize it? And it seems like we can, so we get x minus 3, x minus 9 is equal to 0, and therefore x is equal to 3 or 9. Now, we can factorize this, or if you feel like factorizing is not your strong suit, if it isn't, you should practice to get to that point. But if you still feel like you're not too sure about it, there's always another way to solve these sort of questions. All you can do is look at the answer choices and plug it into the formula and check if this becomes 0. And if that becomes 0, then we can make sure that that is the solution that we're searching for, and therefore we can finalize our answer. In this situation, question number 18, answer is A. Question number 19, a part of the graph of fx is equal to 2 square root 2x minus 5 on the xy plane is shown above. Each point of the graph of fx is translated by 6 to the positive x direction. So we're moving this graph 6 to the positive x direction. Something like this. Hopefully, forming a new graph identical to the graph of gx. Which equation defines gx? Alright, so we're just trying to find the value of gx, and we know the value of fx. If we want to translate something to the x direction, whether it is positive or negative, all we want to do is manipulate the x only. So translating x to 6 would mean that we are actually doing fx. We're actually translating it so that it is fx minus 6. All right? Positive direction, minus 6. Be careful of that negative sign. And once we plug that x minus 6 into the original equation where x belongs, let's do that. X minus 6. And that is our translated formula, which we know that fx minus 6 is equal to gx. So we can just say that is gx. And where is our answer? It is answer choice C. Okay. If you're trying to translate it to the x direction, always just manipulate the x, nothing else. Okay. If you want to move it up and down by the y direction, you want to just add that integer in front. So let's say if we want to move the integer up by 6, so positive y direction by 6, all we need to do is plus it by 6. Okay, and in that case we just have to plus 6 at the end, and that would give us our translation. Either way, that is how to solve question number 19. Question number 20, fx is equal to 1 over x minus 11. What is the value of x if fx is equal to 1 over 35? So fx is equal to 1 over 35. And we know that this is equal to 1 over x minus 11, right? So we've equated this information and this information. And all we need to do now is cross multiply and solve. 35 is equal to x minus 11, and therefore x is equal to 46. And what do we have? Our answer. And that is question number 20. 21. In a city, 60% of the population owns a car, and 40% of those car owners also own a motorcycle. If the city has a population of 50,000, how many people own both a car and a motorcycle? So out of 50,000, let's just work our way from there. 60% of the population owns a car. So we want to multiply that by 0.6, turn it into a number format. And out of that population, 40% of that population also owned a motorcycle. So we multiply that by 0.4. And so if we solve this equation, we will get our desired answer. And that is 12,000. All right. All right, moving on to the final question for Test 1, Module 1. We have this daunting looking question. Let's take a look. A standard card deck contains 52 unique cards. On each card, either a numeral or a face is denoted. So numeral as in just numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And faces, which is Jack, Queen, and King, as shown in the table. Aces are considered as 1. Julia randomly picked 2 different numeral cards from a deck and placed one on the left and one on the right, as shown as such. What is the chance that the numeral denoted on the card Julia placed on the left is exactly 2 times bigger than the one on the right? So this is the situation that she's looking for. The left hand is twice as big as the number on the right hand. So 4 and 2 is a case. So this is as hard as it's going to get for probability in terms of SAT. And let's actually break this question down. Now, we want to first understand how many total possibilities are there if we want to find the probability of such, right? How many total possibilities are there? So we have to check that there was what? We're picking out of what? Two different numeral cards. So we're actually just getting rid of these faces. What are we left with? These faces were a total of how many different cards? 12 cards. So instead of looking from 52, it's actually, we're starting from 40 cards. Okay? That's one trick that this question has. And we're choosing two different cards. So the total combinations is 40. If we choose one card from the 40th deck, we have 40 different possibilities. Multiply that by, since we took one out, the next card is going to have 39 different possibilities. So this is the total number of possibilities that we have. Now, this is going to go on inside of the denominator, and we want to find the numerator, which is when the left-hand side is twice that of the right-hand side. And let's think about it for a second. If we want the left-hand side to be twice as big, then there are only a few choices, and that is when the left-hand side, LHS, and the right-hand side is either 2 and 1. All right, 3 and 1.5 does not make sense in this situation. We don't have 1.5 as a card, so we have to go in even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and likewise divide those values by 2, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So those are the total possibilities. So, oh, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So is it just 5 divided by 40 times 39? No. Why? We have to take care of the suits. We have 2 of spades, 2 of hearts, 2 of clubs, 2 of diamonds. How many different possibilities? There are 4 different 2s in this deck and 4 different 1s. So 2 and 1 is not just one possibility, but rather it's actually equal to 4 times 4, which is 16 different possibilities. And by that extension of logic, we get that 4 and 2 is 16, 16, 16, 16. And how many 16s do we have? 5. So 16 times 5 is equal to 80. And that is the possibility of getting left-hand side twice as big than the right-hand side. And we want to divide that by what? The value that we found earlier, which is 40 times 39. And that is the possibility that we are looking for. Therefore, answer choice A is the correct answer. Now, we just reviewed test 1, module 1, and I will see you in module 2. All right, welcome back. This is TJ from Test Qube, and we will be reviewing test 1, module 2, the lower module. So if you're new here, you can use this resource in 2 ways. Once again, you can watch the full video to gain a better understanding or scroll to find specific questions. We'll get straight into the questions. Now, question number 1. 140 grams of white rice contains 42 grams of carbohydrate. What is the percentage of carbohydrate in this white rice? So, out of 140, so we want to put 140 on the bottom. How many grams of that were carbohydrates? 42. So 42 divided by 100 will give us the percentage. And so if we plug that into the calculator, and that is 0.3. And 0.3, if we turn that into a percentage value, just multiply that by 100, or move 2 decimals to the points to the right, and that is equal to 30%. Answer choice C. Question number 2. Kepler School Library charges $1.5 daily fee for books returned after 14 days of borrowing. Stephen returned a book at Kepler School Library and returned it late and paid $4.5 as a late return fee. How long is the period in days between Stephen borrowing and returning the book? So, $1.5 daily after what? After books returned after 14 days of borrowing. So up to 14 days, it's free. So on the 15th day, that is one more day, and how much late fee is applied on the 15th day? $1.5, correct? And Stephen had to pay a total of $4.5. So if we continue that a couple more times, do you see that we can get to the answer? So 16, 17, 18. Let's just write down the days. And on the 16th day, Stephen has to pay $3, and on the 17th day, Stephen has to pay $4.5. So how many days has it been since He has borrowed the book 17 days. Answer choice D. Question number 3. 2 parentheses x plus y parentheses is equal to 14 and x minus by is equal to minus 13. X is equal to 2 is part of the solution for the system of equations above, where b is a constant real number. We want to find the value of b. So let's actually plug this 2 into these corresponding equations and see what we get. 2 plus y is equal to 14, and 2 minus by is equal to minus 13. We still don't know the value of y, but what can we do? We can figure it out from this equation, right? Let's actually solve that. 4 plus 2y is equal to 14. We take away both sides by 4, then we get 2y is equal to 10, and therefore y is equal to 5. Cool? And what do we want to do with that 5? We want to plug that back into this equation, and we get 2 minus 5b is equal to minus 13. Now we're getting very close to what we want. If we send this 2 to the other side, minus 5b is equal to minus 15, and therefore b is, when we divide both sides by minus 5, 3. Sorry, let's just rewrite that again. B is equal to 3. Answer choice C. Okay. Question 4. Fx is equal to 380,000 minus 75x. Fx models the distance in million miles between the Earth and an outer galaxy A, x years past 1970, for when x is smaller than 50. Which choice best describes this context? So if we take a look over here, 380,000 minus 75x, and this is million miles, and what are we looking at? Years past 1970. So x is years. So every year, so 0th year, the value is 380,000. And every year, it's the value is what? The total value is decreasing by 75, right? And so what does that mean? What does that mean for us? Then that means that this distance, which used to be 380,000 million miles, is getting smaller. Getting smaller. And that means that this galaxy A is actually, if it's getting smaller, that means that distance is closing in on us, meaning that it is becoming much more closer to us, and therefore it is approaching Earth 75 million miles every year. Now we know that 75, and we know that this is in million miles, so this is correct, and therefore answer choice B is a good answer. Now let's look at answer choice A. Galaxy A was traveling away from the Earth in 1970. If it was away, then this value had to be plus. This distance has to increase. So that is incorrect. Answer choice C, Galaxy A was 75 million miles away from the Earth in 1970. How about this 380,000? That's been totally ignored, which is why that is incorrect. Galaxy A would be 384,500 miles away from the Earth in the year 2030. So from 1970 to 2030, that is a 60-year difference. But we know that this value only applies, this formula only applies for when x is smaller than 50. So we know that even if it does follow this trend, and let's just say this is the number, it still won't make sense because we don't know what the trend is going to be after the 50 years or after the 2020 mark. Okay, so that is an incorrect answer choice. Question number 5, what is the y-intercept of the graph shown? It's a pretty simple question. This is the graph that we are looking at. Y-intercept is the point at which the graph intersects the y-axis, and we see that that is 6. Answer choice A. 6. Y is equal to square root 3x minus 2. What is the value of y when x is equal to 17? A simple plug and play question. Let's actually plug 17 into this equation. We get square root 3 times 17 minus 2. And what is 3 times 17? 51 minus 2, 49. The square root of, square root of 49, then that is 7. Y is equal to 7. Answer choice B. Question number 7. Factory F has 2% chance of producing defective products out of 5,000 items produced from Factory F. Which of the following value is closest to the expected quantity of defective products? So The effective products, what's the chance, likelihood of it happening? 2%. Now, if we want to use this in a mathematical formula or in an algebraic way, we have to make sure that this percentage is in a number format. So we just have to divide that by 100 and we get 0.02. And now what we have to do is just multiply this 0.02 by 5,000. And if we do so, we get 100. So what is that? 100 defective products out of every 5,000 made. Answer choice C. Question number 8. An overview of the graph y is equal to 1 over x minus 3 plus 2 is shown. What is the x-intercept of the graph? Now, as you can see over here, this graph does not have any x-axis or y-axis information. It just doesn't tell us where 1, 2, 3 is. But the thing that we can do here is if we want to find the x-intercept, or also known as the value of x when the graph hits the x-axis, it only happens when the y value is 0. Because x-axis always has y is equal to 0. What does that mean? If we just plug in 0 into this y, then we can figure out algebraically what the x-intercept is. So 0 is equal to 1 over x minus 3 plus 2. And therefore, if we move this plus 2 to the other side, then we get minus 2 is equal to 1 over x minus 3. And for the sake of clarity, we can just say minus 2 over 1. We can do a cross multiply. Minus 2x minus 3 is equal to 1. And therefore, minus 2x plus 6 is equal to 1. Minus 2x is equal to minus 5, and therefore divide both sides by minus 2. And finally, we get x is equal to 5 over 2, or just simply 2.5. And those two answer choices both work for the x-intercept. Question number 9. The histogram shows the distribution of ages of all 43 students in a certain senior literature course. Which of the following is true? Let's actually take a look at the answer choices from D and move on up. 12 students are older than or at the age of 70. So we know that this is the 70 mark, and those who are older than 70 is 4. So we can't assume that this is 12 students. That's incorrect. Okay? Answer choice C. 60 students are 23 years old. 60 students are 23 years old. Now, the thing about histogram is histogram shows us the range of ages in this situation, range of x values in which the corresponding data points, correspond to. And so we cannot know for sure if 23 students are at the age of 60. Now, actually, if you take a look at answer choice C, 60 students are 23 years old. So there's no student who is, less than 50. So we can assume that that is incorrect in the first place. But if we think of it opposite, if 23 students are 60 years old, that'd still be incorrect because we don't know for sure if 60 years old, if there are 23 students exactly at 60 years old. We don't know for sure. We can have 61 years old, 62 years old, 63 years old. All of this combined equals to 23 people. So we don't know, and that still wouldn't be the answer. Answer choice B, a student at age 57 is above the 90th percentile of age. Now, if you look at 57 here, and if you want the 90th percentile, you should be up here somewhere. You should be up here somewhere. But if you say 57 is the 90th percentile, that's obviously not it because more than half of the data values are, above 57. So even without having to perfectly calculate everything, we can know for sure that 90th percentile is incorrect. Answer choice A, the median age of the students is greater than or equal to 60 and less than 65. Now let's take a look. How do we find the median value? We want to find the median value by finding the middle man. So we want to start eliminating from left and right. So 1 value here, there's 4 value here, so there's 3 left now. 3 value, both gone. We take away 12 value, and if we could take away 12 value, then we have 11 values still in the 60 to 65 age zone, and the inside of there would be our median, and therefore this answer choice works. All right, question number 10. In a right triangle ABC where angle B is 90 degrees, the hypotenuse is 13 inches long, and the opposite BC is 12 inches long. What is cosine A? So cosine A is this value over here. Now cosine SOHCAHTOA is what we need to know, and we are using the cosine. So cosine A is simply adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent is this length, hypotenuse is this length. Luckily, we already know the hypotenuse. So cosine A is equal to A over 13. We do not know the value of adjacent here, but we can. How? This is a right triangle, remember? Pythagoras theorem. So 13 squared is equal to 12 squared is equal to, let's just denote this as x plus x squared, and therefore 13 squared is 169, 12 squared is 144. Take away those two values, we get 25, and therefore we get 25 is equal to x squared, x is equal to 5. So cosine A is actually equal to 5 over 13, and that would be answer choice B. Question number 11. This winter, City A is planning a vote for or against the relocation of the City Hall. Kristen visited 100 restaurants near the City Hall to interview restaurant owners and collected the data above. Based on the data, she concluded that among 200,000 voters in City A, approximately 88,000 will vote for the relocation. Which of the following is the best strategies Kristen can apply to improve the accuracy of her research? Now, it's very peculiar that she researched 100 restaurants to interview when she's just trying to find whether City A is voting for. So the whole of City A is voting for or against relocation. Now, it seems that out of the 100, 44 approves of relocation and 56 is against. Let's actually take a look at the answer choices and see what's going on. What do we want to do in order to make sure that Kristen's interview is more accurate? Well, let's look at answer choice A, interviewing 10 restaurant owners instead of 100. Now, always, if you want to increase the accuracy, you want more data instead of less. Less will lead to a lot of biases and problems. So that's not a good approach. Answer choice B, revising the conclusion such that 112,000 voters will vote for the relocation. Now, you can't just revise the conclusion without making changes to the methodology, and therefore that is not a good idea. Let's look at answer choice D first, interviewing additional 100 restaurant owners in another city to enlarge the sample size. Now, right approach, wrong execution. Why? Because if you want to increase more data points, if you want to find more data points, it's good if you want to, that you should interview more people. But this is talking about another city. We want to find for City A. So another city in this situation is incorrect. Answer choice C, calling random voters in City A on the phone to conduct an interview rather than visiting the restaurant. So what this question saw was that why is Kristen interviewing restaurants in the first place when we're just talking about City A in general? Which is why this answer choice correctly picks that out and changes that in order to improve the accuracy. Now, the problem about restaurant owners is that if you just ask only the restaurant owners instead of the whole city, like random people in City A, restaurant owners has a lot to deal with. They have to, they have their own place, they have their own, supplies inside of the restaurant. We can kind of see how restaurant owners might not want to relocate because there's a lot of stuff they have for City A. So that's why we have a biased answer, making that the key factor of driving the accuracy down. Question number 12. fx is equal to 1 over 3 square root of x. What is the x value when fx is equal to 3? So if we equate 3 with this equation, we get 3 is equal to 1 over 3 root x. Multiply both sides by 3, then we get y is equal to square root x. Square both sides, then we get x is equal to 81. And therefore, answer is 81. Now, a lot of students somehow get this question wrong because they just think that 3 goes directly into this position of x, and that is incorrect. Okay? That would be incorrect because we are actually saying fx, the y value here is 3. So we have to say that this whole equation, the whole expression is equal to 3, not just the x value. Okay? All right, question number 13. Fx is equal to 2,260 times 1.05 to the power of x divided by 6. Fx models the population of certain fungi per square centimeter of an experimental medium x hours after the initial observation. Which of the following functions best models the population of the fungi per square centimeter of the medium after y days after the observation? So we're trying to change this x into a y value. And so we need to find a conversion metric in order to understand this. And the easiest way to do this is just to write x and write down its units, hour, it's in hours, and y, and that's in days. So if you want to make sure that x and y is equated, then we just have to plug in some numbers and see what's going on. So if y is equal to 1 day, 1, so let's just say y is equal to 1, then how many hours do we need in order for x to be exactly the same as y? We need 24 hours. Correct? 24 hours. That means if we want to switch x to y, then y is simply, we have to multiply 24 to y in order to get the same value as x. So for 24 hours, so 24 times y, which is in days, right, has to equal to x hours. Does that make sense? So if there's 24 hours, so if we plug x is equal to 24, naturally we know y is equal to 1. And so we get 24 is equal to 24. And now that formula works. Okay? So we get the formula 24y is equal to x. And if we plug this 24y in the position of x, then we get, if all things stands equal, 0.15 to the power of 24y divided by 6. And that is just simply 4y. Okay? Therefore, answer is B. 14. Straight line CH bisects the area of an equilateral triangle ABC. What is the value of angle ACH in radians? So, ACH is this angle over here. Okay, I'm not sure if you see that. This angle over here. And we know that this is an equilateral triangle, meaning each side is 60 degrees. And we want to find the angle that bisects, meaning divides the angle exactly in half. So what is the angle here? 30 degrees, because 60 divided by 30. Now, all we need to do now is change this 30 degree into radians. How do we do that? We have to multiply by pi over 180. This is the conversion metric. And so if we do that, we get pi over 6. That is the answer to answer choice. Question number 14. If you want to change this pi over 6 back into degrees, all you need to do is multiply it by 180 divided by pi. Let's actually do that and see if it works. And we also get 30 degrees. So this is something that we should know right off the top of our memory, and we would be able to solve 14. All right, 15. X squared plus 16x plus 7 is equal to 0. The given equation has two distinct real solutions for x where k is a constant. Which of the following values can k be to satisfy the condition above? Now, this is a quadratic equation problem, but we need to use a specific formula, and that is the discriminant. What is a discriminant? Discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. And depending on what this value is, we can know how many real solutions there are, or there are not. So in this situation, since it said there are two distinct real solutions, we're talking about a value when b squared minus 4ac is bigger than 0. Let's take a look. B is 16, so 16 squared minus 4 times 1 times k, and that has to be bigger than 0. 16 squared is 256. So 256 minus 4k has to be bigger than 0, and 256, I'm going to move this k minus 4k to the other side, then we get that. So if we divide that by 4, we get 64 has to be bigger than k, or k has to be smaller than 64. Now, 64, is that the answer? No. K has to be a value smaller than 64. So anything that is equal to or bigger than is incorrect. Therefore, answer choice is A. Question 16. Trapezoids ABCD and BPQC. ABCD and BPQC are similar, where sides CD and DA of ABCD corresponds to QC, and CB of BPQC, respectively. If angle P measures 63 degrees, what is the value in degrees of angle A? Okay, so what we have to understand is that in this trapezoid, we understand that PQ, BC, AD, they're all similar, and therefore those lines are going to be parallel to each other. Okay? And meaning this angle also, since this angle is 63, then this angle also has to be 63 degrees. What does that mean about this angle? 63, 63, 63 degrees. Does that make sense? Meaning this line, for the sake of visibility, this line, if we want to find the angle of this, which is just 180, minus this value, which is 63, and therefore that is 117 degrees. That's our answer. 17. X is equal to 1 over 3, parentheses y plus 1. Xz is equal to 27. C is equal to x plus y plus c. X is equal to 3 is part of the solution to the given system of equations where c is a constant real number. What is the value of c? So let's actually plug in 3 into all of these equations and see what's going on. So for Formula 1, we get 3 is equal to 1 over 3y plus 1. I think we can actually solve this straight off the bat. Multiply both sides by 3, and we get 9 is equal to y plus 1, and therefore y is equal to 8. 2, the second formula, we get 3z is equal to 27, and therefore we get z is equal to 9. So we found y and we found z. And finally c, the third formula, c is equal to 3 plus, what do you know about y? 8. What do we know about z? 9. So that is c is equal to 20, and hence the answer. Okay? All right, a very long question indeed. Let's look at question number 18. A group of geologists analyzed fossils from the Jurassic era excavated in a certain region to measure the average atmospheric temperature at the time when the fossil was formed. The x values of the scatter plot represent the ages of the fossil records in million years ago. Now, I think that's very important information. Let's just highlight that. And the y value represents the calculated average atmospheric temperature of the region based on each record in degrees Celsius. The slope of the line of best fit is 0.19. Which of the following interpretation for the number 0.19 is most appropriate in this context? So, what does slope mean? Basically, slope means every time we move x to 1, x1 to the right, that means we increase by 0.19. That's what slope means. Rise over run. Okay? Rise over run. And if we just say run is equal to 1, so if we move 1 to the right, then that means our slope is basically 0.16. You rise by 0.16. So what does that mean? Every 1, and what is this 1? In million years. So every 1 million years, the atmospheric temperature increases by 0.16 degrees. That's what it means. If we take a look at answer choice A, the average atmospheric temperature increased approximately 0.19 degrees Celsius per million years. So they got that correct during the Jurassic era. Sounds perfect. Answer choice A is correct. Let's look at B, C, and D. The average atmospheric temperature in the Jurassic era was 0.19 degrees Celsius. Now that would be incredibly cold and also incredibly incorrect in this situation, because if we look at the degrees here, it starts from 17. There's no way that the average is 0.19 degrees. Answer choice C, the average atmospheric temperature in the Jurassic era was 0.19 degrees Celsius higher than now. We don't know when now is. That's impossible to know. D, the average atmospheric temperature increased 0.19 degrees Celsius every year during the Jurassic era. A lot of students get this wrong because they choose answer choice D. It's not every year. If it was every year, in million years, if each tick is worth 1,000,000 years, then every million years, it's increasing by what, like 190,000 degrees, then our Earth would be boiling on the 100th or on the 1,000th year, on the 50th year, right? Yeah, so that's incorrect. So we just need to know that this is talking about in million years, okay? Question number 19. Fx is equal to 2, parentheses, x minus 2 squared plus 2. Gx is equal to 1 over 3, parentheses, x minus 5 squared plus 3. So those are the two functions. Distance between the vertex of y is equal to fx and the vertex of y is equal to gx plotted on xy plane is square root d. What is the value of d? So vertex is here, vertex is here. How do we know the vertex? This is a radian vertex form. 2, 2 for fx and 5, 3 for gx. How do we find the distance between the two? We can use the distance formula, which is x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Take the square root. Let's actually just do that. Or we can just use the Pythagoras theorem here, if you can see the right triangle. Either way works. Now, x2 is 5 minus 2 squared plus 3 minus 2 squared. Take the square root. And that is simply 3 squared, which is 9, and 1 squared, which is 1, and therefore we get square root 10. And we said that the answer was in the format of square root d, so we're finding the value that's inside of the square root. Answer choice. The correct answer would be 10. Question 20. The base of a 32-foot deep cuboid diving pool is a square with a 20 feet of each side. So the base is a square. The pool is full of water with which the density equals 62.4 pounds per cubic foot. Which of the following is closest to the total mass of the water in pounds? So let's actually find the volume of this thing. How do we find the volume? Base times height. So 20 times 20 times 32. 12,800. That is in feet cubed. Y is the volume. Feet cubed. Feet times feet times feet. There's 3 feet. And if we multiply that by 62.4 pounds per cubic feet, what happens to the units? The units go away, and now you're just left with the pounds in which we want to find. So we stumbled upon converting the units, and we found out that 62.4 times 12,800 is the answer that we're looking for, and we get answer 798,720 pounds, which is closest to simply 800,000 pounds. Okay, closest to. Question number 21. Let's actually take a look at dot plot A and dot plot B. Before we do that, let's actually read the question. Dot plots A and B represent the distribution of 25 integer values, each from data sets X and Y respectively. Each value in data set Y is greater than the corresponding value in data set X by 11. Okay, so the smallest values on data set X is directly 11 points bigger for data set Y. And I think that corresponds pretty well. Okay, so that's pretty good. Which of the following descriptions about the relationship between data sets X and Y is true? So what do we know? Let's actually take a look at answer choices. The mean value of data set X equals 15 and the mean value of Y equals 26. Without even having to calculate, the graph looks like this. Where do you think the mean value is going to be? It's probably going to be in the middle somewhere here. And if you say the average value is 15, well, that's a little bit too high for us. Now you can find it and confirm the mean value, but that would be incorrect. However, 15 and 26, they're 11 points apart. So it does seem like the difference between the two mean values are good. It's just that the mean values to begin with is wrong. All right, answer choice B, the median of data set Y equals the median of data set X. There's no way that could happen. The median, let's actually figure that one out. So get rid of 2 points here, get rid of 2 points here, get rid of 2 points here, get rid of 2 points here. 1, 1. Let's get rid of 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and we're left with 14. So 14 is the median value. And likewise, it's somewhere going to be here, which is 25. There's no way those two values are the same. So that's wrong. The data set Y contains 11 more values than data set X. It says in the question there's both 25 data points. So that's incorrect. More values is incorrect. Answer choice D, the range of data set Y equals the range of data set X. How do you find the range? You take the biggest number and the smallest number out of the bunch and take them away. And we get the range is 5. Likewise here, it's also going to be 27 minus 22, which is 5. And therefore, we get our final answer. Answer choice D. All right, final question for test 1, module 1, lower section. A store is selling a toy that was originally $300 by offering a 15% clearance sale on all items. If there is a 7% sales tax applied to the discounted price, what is the final price of the toy? So, start with $300. We get a 15% clearance sale. So how much are we paying if we are getting a 15% discount? We're paying from the original price, we're only paying 85% of it, right? So that's why we multiply that by 0.85. And from that, so another way to write 0.85 is from the original, we got a discount of 0.15, which is just the same as 0.85. And we have a sales tax, which means that we have 1 plus 0.07. So if we rewrite that, 300 times 0.85 times 1.07 is going to lead to the final sale price of the toy. Which is $272.85. Answer choice B. All right, that wraps up test 1, module 1, lower section, and hopefully next time I'll see you in the upper module. All right, welcome back everyone. This is TJ, and we will continue looking at test 1, This time module 2, the upper module. Now you can use this resource again in 2 different ways. Watch the full video to gain a better understanding. For those of you guys who took the lower module, it's a good practice to actually try to see what the upper module was like and see if the difficulty is any different, or you can see how the difficulty changes in the module, or you can just scroll to find specific questions that you're interested in. Without further ado, we'll get straight into it. Question number 1. 140 grams of white rice contains 42 grams of hard carbohydrates. What is the percentage of carbohydrates in white rice? White rice in total is 140 grams, and out of that, 42 grams was carbohydrates. That is the answer. We divide 42 by 140 and we get 0.3, and turn that into a percentage value. That's 30%. Question number 2. Kepler School Library charges a $1.5 daily fee for books returned after 14 days of borrowing. So up until 14 days, it's exactly free. And Stephen borrowed a book at Kepler School Library and returned it late and paid $4.5 as a late return fee. How long is the period in days between Stephen borrowing and returning the book? So on the 14th day, Stephen needs to pay nothing. But on the 15th day, how much does Stephen need to pay? $1.5. Now, if we continue on that path from 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, do you see that soon enough we'll hit $4.5? Let's actually see. So on the 16th day, it is $3, and on the 17th day, we get $4.5. All right, so that means on the 17th day, Stephen actually brought his book back, and he had to pay $4.5, making answer D. Question 3. 2 to the parentheses x plus y, parentheses is equal to 14, x minus by is equal to minus 13, x is equal to 2, is a part of the solution for the system of equations above, where b is a constant real number. What is the value of b? So we want to plug this value into each equation. We get 2 plus y is equal to 14, and 2 minus by is equal to minus 13. Now, the thing we see is here there's only one variable, meaning we can find the value of that variable. Let's actually do that. We get 4 plus 2y is equal to 14, and therefore 2y is equal to 10, and therefore y is equal to 5. Plug that back in. Then we get 2 minus 5b is equal to minus 13. Move this to the other side. Minus 5b is equal to minus 15, and therefore b is equal to minus 3. Nope, plus 3. Why? Because minus cancel each other out. Okay? Answer choice C. All right, question number 4. Fx is equal to 380,000 minus 75x. Fx models the distance in million miles between the Earth and an outer galaxy A. X years past 1974. X is smaller than 15. Which choice best describes this context? All right, so what's happening here? So every year past 1970, up to X is less than 50, so up to 2020, every year this outer galaxy A is moving closer. From 380,000, every year it's closing down that value by 75 million miles. So what we can see is that galaxy A is approaching Earth 75 million miles per year. That's what it's saying, okay? For the first 50 years. Let's actually take a look at answer choices and see what we can eliminate. And let's look at answer choice A. Galaxy A was traveling away from the Earth in 1970. Is it moving away? If it's moving away, then this value had to be a positive value. Okay, it's moving away. Distance is getting farther. So that is incorrect. Answer choice C. Galaxy A was 75 million miles away from the Earth in 1970. Is that true? 1970 is when X is equal to 0, and therefore it was actually 380,000 million miles more away. So that is Oh, sorry, that is incorrect. And answer choice D, galaxy A, would be 384,500 miles away from the Earth in the year 2030. Two things wrong here. First is 384,500 miles. Nope, it's in million miles. So that is wrong. And also, it's away from the Earth in the year 2030. We don't know because this only applies for when x is smaller than 50. And 50 is, if we add 1970 to 50, that's 2020. And so after 2020, we don't know what this model does not work. We don't know if it works or if it doesn't work. So either way, that does not work, making our answer choice B, galaxy A approaches Earth 75 million miles per year. Okay? It's getting closer every year by 75 million miles. That becomes the answer choice. And question 5, the graphs on the xy plane below shows 3 different functions. Find the number of solutions that satisfy all 3 graphs. All right, so the solution that satisfy all 3 graphs means the intersection in which all 3 graphs intersect. And that is what we're trying to find. Now, intersections like these, 2 out of 3 graphs intersect. Intersection like these. Are there any points in this graph that we can see visibly where all 3 graphs intersect? No. Meaning, are there any solutions? No. Answer choice A. Question 6. Vigo's school band consists of guitar players and flute players, where a band member plays exactly one kind of instrument between the two. If there are twice as many guitar players as there are flute players, and there are 18 members in Vigo's band, so let's just say guitar players is X and flute players is Y. Let's continue reading the question. How many guitar players are present in Vigo's band? So X plus Y is equal to how many members? 18 members. And we also had, there are twice as many guitar players. So X is equal to 2Y. Now, why is it 2Y, not 2X is equal to Y? Now, that's because flute players, if we think about it, let's just plug in some random numbers. So if there are twice as many guitar players, let's just say there are 4 guitar players, then how many flute players should there be? 2, right? Because there's twice as many guitar players. And so if we plug those values in, plug those points in, we can see that 4 is equal to 2 times 2. And therefore 4 is equal to 4, making that equation true. So that is how we want to set up the equation. So if this is confusing for you, always plug in a number that makes sense and see if it works. All right, so those are the equation that we can set up. How many guitar players? Now, we want to find the value of X. So I am going to reorganize this equation in terms of Y. So let's actually do that. Y is equal to 18 minus X. And plug that back into this equation. X is equal to 2. 18 minus X, and therefore X is equal to 36 minus 2X. To the other side, 3X is equal to 36, and therefore X is equal to, divide both sides by 3, we get 12. Okay? If X% of 350 is 105, what is the value of X? So, 350 times by whatever value is equal to 105. Now we want to find this value, and it is a percentage value. So let's actually just figure this out. That is the equation that we get. And that is equal to 0.3. So is it 0.3%? No. This is a number value. We have to multiply that by 100, meaning this is 30%. Therefore, we're looking for answer choice D. Okay? All right, moving on to question number 8. An overview of the graph of y is equal to 1 over x minus 3 plus 2 is shown. What is the x-intercept of the graph? Now, we can find the x-intercept of the graph when, if we algebraically know that the x-intercept is the intersection point in which y is equal to 0. Okay? So if we plug y is equal to 0, then we can figure out the x-intercept. So 0 is equal to 1 over x minus 3 plus 2. And if we move this to the other side, minus 2 is equal to 1 over x minus 3. I'm going to cross multiply, and we get minus 2 x minus 3 is equal to 1. Minus 2x plus 6 is equal to 1. And therefore, minus 2x is equal to minus 5. X is equal to minus 5 over minus 2. Therefore, 5 over 2, or 2.5. That is the answer for the x-intercept. So if you're finding the x-intercept and they don't give you the number on the number line, it's not that obvious. Just plug y is equal to 0. Vice versa, if you want to find the y-intercept, then just plug x is equal to 0. And you'll be able to algebraically find the value. Now, question number 9. The graph of function y is equal to 2 square root x minus 6 minus 10 intersects the x-axis at one point a comma 0. What is the value of a? So almost like the continuation of question 8, question number 9 is asking us to find the intersection point on the x-axis. So what do we have to do? Plug 0 into y and a into x and figure out the value of a. Let's do that. 0 is equal to 2 square root a minus 6 minus 10. Now I'm just going to move this 10 to the other side. 10 is equal to 2 square root a minus 6. Divide both sides by 2. We get 5 is equal to square root a minus 6. Square both sides. 25 is equal to a minus 6. And therefore we get a is equal to 31. Answer choice C. All right, question number 10. In a right triangle ABC where angle B is equal to 90 degrees, the hypotenuse is 13 inches long. And the opposite BC is 12 inches long. What is the value of cosine A? Okay, so cosine A, so this is angle A. And if we want to find cosine A, we need to understand or recall SOHCAHTOA. Okay, and here we're using ka, which is cosine A in this situation is adjacent over hypotenuse. What is adjacent? This. What is hypotenuse? This. We already know the hypotenuse is equal to 13. We don't know the adjacent. However, we know Pythagoras theorem. So let's just say adjacent is x. X squared is plus 12 squared is equal to 13 squared. 12 squared, 144. 13 squared, 169. Take away those two values, we get x squared is equal to 25, and therefore x is equal to 5. Now we're all done. So a is adjacent is equal to 5. So cosine A is 5 over 13. Answer choice B. Question number 11. This winter, City A is planning a vote for or against the relocation of the City Hall. Kristen visited 100 restaurants near the City Hall to interview restaurant owners and collected the data above. Based on the data, she concluded that among 200,000 voters in City A, approximately 88,000 will vote for the relocation. Which of the following is the best strategy Kristen can apply to improve the accuracy of her research? So let's take a look at the answer choices and see what we can, eliminate. Answer choice A, interviewing 10 restaurant owners instead of 100. If your idea is to improve the accuracy, pulling the numbers down for the number of samples we get is always a bad idea. We want more data. More is better in this situation. Answer choice B, revising the conclusion such that 112,000 voters will vote for the relocation. You're not just allowed to revise. You have to properly prove the point instead of just changing the conclusion on whatever you're doing. Answer choice D, interviewing additional 100 restaurant owners in another city to enlarge the sample size. Now, good call here. You want to enlarge the sample size, but bad execution because you don't want to have another city's opinion in finding the vote for or against in City A. So what do you have to do? Let's look at answer choice C. Calling random voters in City A on the phone to conduct the interview rather than visiting the restaurant. So the thing about restaurants is this is what we had to catch here. If you're just asking restaurant owners if they want to relocate or not, of course they're probably not wanting to. Why? Because they have their restaurant, they have their own business, and there's a lot of hassle to move around. So there could be bias in that sample of choice. what we want to do is make sure that city A, since we're trying to find city A's vote for or against, we want to make sure, in order to improve the accuracy, that we only ask random people in city A, not specific people that might have an opinion towards it. Which is why answer choice C is correct. Question number 12. Which of the following is a factor of the expression 1 minus x plus 3x squared minus 3x cubed? Now this we require synthetic division. And in order to do synthetic division, we want to reorganize the formula in descending order. So minus 3x squared plus cubed, plus 3x squared minus x plus 1, and therefore minus 3, 3, minus 1, 1. And we can start doing synthetic division. And just by the looks of it, I think 1 is going to work. So 0, let's do synthetic division here. And we get 0. And therefore, we know 1 is a factor, x minus 1. And we also know minus 3x squared minus 1 is also a factor. Now, if you look at the answer choices, x minus 1 is non-existent. So we know that that does not exist as an answer choice. The only similar thing is D. But minus 3x squared minus 1 and 3x squared plus 1, aren't they different? No. Why? We can always factor out the minus as follows. Right? And either way, 3x squared plus 1 can be a factor of the expression, which is why answer choice D is correct for question number 12. All right, question number 13. We have the formula here. It looks like an exponential formula. Fx models the population of certain fungi per square centimeter of an experimental medium x hours after the initial observation. Which of the following function best models the population of the fungi per square centimeter of the medium after y days after the observation? So we want to change this value of x into a value of y. So we need to find a conversion metric. And the way we're going to do that is we know that x is equal to hours and y is equal to days. Okay? So if we have 24 hours, let's just say, then how many days is that? That's 1 day, right? So what is the discrepancy? If it's 48 hours, how many days is that? 2 days, right? What is this discrepancy? Well, we need to multiply this right-hand side by 24 in order to make sure that the two equations are the same, right? So x is equal to 24y. And therefore, if you plug that into the equation, then we get, with all things standing equal, 1.05 to the power of 24y divided by 6, and that is just 4y. And therefore, answer choice B is correct. Question number 14, the graph of hx is shown. Jx is an inverse function of hx. What is the value of jx when x is equal to 0? Inverse function denotes the reflection along y is equal to x. Let's actually figure out the line here. So this line is actually y is equal to mx plus b. And we know that the y-intercept is 6. So that's 6. And we know that y-intercept is 6 and x-intercept is 3. And therefore the slope is rise over run. Rise was minus 6 and run was 3. And therefore slope is minus 2. Therefore, we get y is equal to minus 2x plus 6. How do we find the inverse? We just switch the position of x and y and reorganize the formula in terms of y. I'll show you how to do that. Well, if we inverse this, then we get x is equal to minus 2y plus 6. And if we reorganize the formula, we get x minus 6 is equal to minus 2y. And divide both sides by minus 2, and then we get y is equal to minus x minus 6 divided by 2. And what is the value of jy? This is actually equal to jx, sorry, not jy, jx, when x is equal to 0. So if I plug in 0 into here, let's see what we get. So jx is equal to minus 0 minus 6 divided by 2. And what is this? Minus 6. So we get 6 divided by 2 And that is equal to 3, which is our answer. Question 15, x squared plus 16x plus k is equal to 0. The given equation has two distinct real solutions for x, where k is constant. Which of the following values can k be to satisfy the condition above? So, k, in order to solve this problem, we need to know b squared minus 4ac, also known as the discriminant. And since we want the discriminant to satisfy, in order for it to have two distinct real solutions, we have to make sure that the discriminant is bigger than 0. If we plug the values in, 16 squared minus 4 times 1 times k is bigger than 0. And so 16 squared is equal to 256. Move this to the other side, 4k. Divide both sides by 4. And we get 64k. And therefore, k has to be what? Smaller than 64. Oh, 64, is that the answer? No. Does not include 64. And anything above that is not included as well. Therefore, answer choice A is correct. Question number 16. The midterm grade for a class of 5 students is 50. The mean midterm grade, sorry. If a new student with a midterm grade of 90 joins the class, by how much will the mean midterm grade increase? So, let's just say if the mean is 50, we can assume that each student got 50. 2, 3, 4, 5. That's student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the 6th student got 90. That's the situation. So how much will the mean midterm grade increase? So let's actually find the mean here. And that is 50 times 5. So 250 plus 90 divided by 6. And that is 56.666. Repeating. And how much did the score increase by? From the mean of 50, it increased by 6.66. Repeating. And therefore, that is the answer, making answer choice B the correct answer. Question 17, ft is equal to 35,000 times 0.75 to the power of t. The value of a car is modeled by the function above, where t represents the number of years after purchasing the car. What does the rate 0.75 tell us about the value of the car? So this is the rate, right? If we look at the equation, y is equal to ar to the power of t, this is the rate. And rate in this situation is 0.75, means from the original, how much was taken away? 0.25. What does that mean? The price of the car is decreasing 25% every single year. And that is why answer choice A is correct. And that is why answer choice B, the value of the car is decreasing at a rate of 75%. Then this should have been 0.25 if this was supposed to be the answer, which is why it's incorrect. And 0.75% is also incorrect. And increasing by 0.25 is also incorrect. If these were to be the answer, then inside the rate would have been 99.025%. This should have been what was inside of the rate. So that doesn't make any sense. And therefore, answer choice A is correct. 18. Which of the following expression is equivalent to the expression shown here? And we know that 8 is equal to 2 to the third power. And so what we want to do here is just to make sure that the bases are the same. That will make our lives a lot easier. So 2 to the third power, in parentheses 2x plus 3, divided by 2 to the x plus 4. Now what happens when we are dividing exponentials where the bases are the same? All you need to do is take away the exponents from each other. Then we get 2 to the power of 3, parentheses 2x plus 3, minus x plus 4. Don't forget the parentheses. If we solve that, we get 2 is equal to 6x plus 9 minus x minus 4, which is equal to 2. 5x plus 5, and therefore our answer corresponds directly to A. Question number 19. we have these two equations, formulas. The distance between the vertex y is equal to fx and the vertex of y is equal to gx is plotted on xy plane and is square root d. So the distance between these two vertexes, we can denote it as square root d. And we want to find the value of that. So what we want to do is find the vertexes first. And we know that this is already in vertex form, meaning it's 2, 2 and 5, 3. And therefore, using the distance formula, we can take the square root, x2 minus x1, which is 5 minus 2 squared, plus y2 minus y1, 3 minus 2 squared. Therefore, gives us 9 plus 1, square root 10. Now, we want to know the value of d, not the whole thing. And d was what's inside of the square root, therefore yielding 10 as our input answer. 20. If the function fx is equal to x minus 2 times x plus 3 is shifted left by 3 units, what is the new x-coordinate of its vertex? This is a very complicated question. Let's take a look. If it's shifted to the left by 3 units, then what we're doing is effectively x plus 3. Okay? So if we plug x plus 3 in the position of these x's, then we get x plus 3 minus 2, x plus 3 plus 3, and therefore is x plus 1, x plus 6. And that is the translated formula, but we want to find the x-coordinate of the vertex. Now, the vertex, we can find the vertex formula and do complete the square and find the x value, but we also need to understand the symmetry of parabola, and that will make our lives much easier. Now, we know that minus 1 and minus 6 are the roots, so let's actually draw that. Minus 1 and minus 6. So the graph is going to look something like this. And you know what? The vertex is going to be right in the middle, in between the x-intercepts, because a parabola is always symmetric. So what are we going to do to find the x-coordinate of the vertex? We're just going to find the mean value of these two. So minus 6 minus 1 divided by 2, which is equal to minus 3.5. And that is the new x-coordinate. Answer choice D. Question number 21. One of the solutions for a quadratic equation, 2x squared minus 6x plus g is equal to 0, is 3 over 2 plus square root 6 divided by 2. What is the value of g? Now, if we want to find this, then what do we need to do? We need to use the quadratic formula. That is 2a minus b plus minus root b squared minus 4ac. Let's actually apply it and see what happens. 4 is equal to 6 plus minus 36 minus 4 times 2, which is 8c, which is g. And that was equal to 3 over 2 plus square root 2. One of the answers. Okay, so let's see. The first thing we can do is separate these terms. And once we do that, we get 6 over 4 plus minus square root of 36 minus 8g, 4. And that 6 over 4 is actually effectively equal to 3 over 2. So we already matched these sides, and all we need to do is match this. And what do we see here? Well, the denominator here is 4 and denominator here is 2. So what we can do is actually multiply the top and bottom here by 2 and see what's going on. Then we get the denominator here is 4. We match the denominator and we get 2 root 6. And if we want to plug this 2 inside of the square root, then that is actually equal to 4. So effectively, it's actually square root 24 divided by 4. And so since we just match the denominator, as long as we match whatever is inside of the square root, then we're going to be able to find the value of g. 36 minus 8g is equal to 24. And therefore, if we move around, then 12 is equal to 8g. And therefore, g is equal to 12 over 8, also known as 6 over 4. Further simplified as 3 over 2. Okay? So G has to equal to 3 over 2. All right, final question for test 1, module 2, upper module. Let's take a look. Fx is equal to 39.1 times 0.98 to the power of x divided by 12 models the air pressure of the car tire in PSI after x hours of filling the tire with air. What does the number 0.98 mean in this context? So 0.98 is the ratio. And what do we know? If we plug 12 into x, that means every 12 hours, then the tire is losing its air pressure. How much? 1 minus 0.98, which is 0.02, 2%. The tire loses its, PSI, pressure, by 2%. So the tire's pressure drops by 2% every 12 hours. That's what we know. Let's take a look at answer choice A. An average rate of decrease in the tire pressure per 12 hours in percent. So we first do not know if it's the average rate. And although decrease is correct, the tire pressure per 12 hours in percent. 0.98 is not a percentage value. It is percentage value turned into a number value for it to be. So what this is saying is every 12 hours, the tire pressure is decreasing by 0.98%. No, right? It's decreasing by 2%. So that is incorrect. Answer choice B, the ratio of the tire pressure at a certain time to the tire pressure 12 hours after the certain time. So ratio A to B is a mathematical way to put it is A divided by B. That's what it means. A divided by B. And so ratio of the tire pressure at the certain time, let's just say, at time like 12 hours, to the tire pressure 12 hours after the certain time, so that's in 24 hours. So 12 hours in, divided by 24 hours in. Does that make sense? No. Why? Well, we actually want to find, this 0.98 means ratio of the tire after 12 hours divided by current time. That's what we want to figure out. Why? Let's just assume that current time is right after we, fill the tire with air. So that is going to be 1. Let's just say 1 is the 1 psi. Okay? So we want to make sure that the bottom is right now and the top is in the future. Why? Because that is what 0.98 means. So in the future, after 12 hours, it's going to be 0.98 psi. So that is what we're looking for. And in this situation, we got these in the opposite direction. Therefore, that is incorrect. Answer choice C, an average decrease in the tire pressure per 12 hours in psi. Okay, so we first of all do not know if it's the average decrease. And although it is decrease, we do not know the units. 0.98 per 12 hours in psi. They give us the units, psi. It's not decreasing by 0.98 psi every 12 hours. That's incorrect. Okay? Answer choice D, the ratio of the tire pressure 12 hours after a certain time to the tire pressure at the certain time. So that is what we're trying to figure out. After a certain time divided by at the certain time. So future divided by present. And that is what we want. Present is full and future is after 12 hours. How much do we have left? 0.98 of 1, which is why answer choice D is correct. That will conclude test 1, the review of test 1, and I will see you in the next one.